Okay, hi everyone, welcome to this video series. In the last video series, I discussed Windows Server 2000. So in this new video series, I want to discuss Windows Server 2003, which is the successor to Windows Server 2000. So I just want to share my screen. Okay. Chapter 1, Introduction to Windows Server 2003. Overview. Windows Server 2003 is a server operating system developed by Microsoft as the successor to Windows 2000 Server, released in April 2003. It marked a significant evolution in enterprise IT infrastructure by offering improved scalability, enhanced security, and better management tools, despite being over 2 decades old. Windows Server 2003 played a pivotal role in shaping modern server management practices. This chapter explores the historical context, features, additions, and architecture of Windows Server 2003 to provide a foundational understanding of its role in IT environments. 1.1 Historical context. Prior to the release of Windows Server 2003, Microsoft's enterprise server platform was dominated by Windows 2000 Server. Although functional and relatively stable, Windows 2000 was not optimized for the increasing demands of large-scale enterprise networks. Windows Server 2003 addressed many of these limitations. It introduced better support for Active Directory, improved performance and security, and was built on the Windows NT 5.2 kernel, known for its stability and efficiency. This operating system was the backbone of many IT infrastructures for over a decade and served as the foundation for newer versions like Windows Server 2008 and beyond. 1.2 Key features. Windows Server 2003 introduced several new and enhanced features. Improved Active Directory, faster replication, domain rename capabilities, and cross-forest trusts. Internet Information Services, IIS 6.0, a major upgrade from IIS 5.0, featuring kernel mode caching and application isolation. Volume Shadow Copy Service, VSS, allowed point-in-time copies of files, aiding in backups and restores. Enhanced group policy management, more granular control over users and computers. Security enhancements included security configuration wizard, improved auditing and automatic updates, remote desktop for administration, simplified remote management of servers, 64-bit support, introducing Windows Server 2003 Enterprise x64-bit edition. Enterprise x64 edition. 1.3 Editions of Windows Server 2003. Microsoft released several editions of Windows Server 2003 to cater for different business needs. Edition description: Standard Edition, suitable for small to medium size businesses. Supports up to 4 processors, and 4 gig of RAM. Enterprise Edition, designed for medium to large enterprises, supports clustering up to 8 processors and 32 gigs of RAM, 64 GB in x64 edition. Data Center Edition, high-end version for large-scale data centers, supports 64 processors and advanced features like 8-node clustering. Web Edition, streamlined for web hosting, limited to web server functionality, IIS 6.0, and supports up to 2 GB of RAM and 2 processors. 1.4 System requirements, minimum hardware requirements, processor Pentium 1.33 MHz or higher, 550 MHz or more recommended. RAM 128 minimum, 512 meg recommended. Disk space 1.5 GB for a basic installation. Display VGA or higher resolution. Other CD-ROM drive, keyboard, mouse. Note these specs are modest by today's standards, but they allowed the OS to run on a wide range of hardware 1.5 architecture and core design. Windows Server 2003 was built on a modular architecture that enabled services to be run with greater efficiency and security. Key architectural improvements included modular kernel design for better performance and stability, service isolation to reduce the impact of a compromised component, scalable memory management with support for large-scale memory pages, command line tools, and scripting support for automation, e.g. NetSH dsquery. Command line tools and scripting support for automation. Okay, sorry, I already read that. 1.6 lifecycle and then support. General availability, April 24th, 2003. Mainstream support ended July 13th, 2010. Extended support ended July 14th, 2015. Although Microsoft ended support in 2015, Windows Server 2003 was widely used well into the late 2010s in legacy environments due to its stability. 1.7 use cases and legacy. Common use cases included file and print servers, Active Directory, domain controllers, web hosting, IIS, application servers, running custom or legacy apps, DHCP, DNS servers. Even today, some organizations run legacy systems on Windows Server 2003 in isolated environments. While this is highly discouraged due to security risks, its continued presence underscores its former dominance and reliability. Summary: Windows Server 2003 was a major milestone in server operating systems, bringing with it greater control, flexibility, and power than its predecessors. Understanding its features, architecture, and additions laid the groundwork for managing and migrating legacy systems or studying the evolution of Microsoft's server platform. Chapter 2, Installation and Setup. Overview. Setting up a Windows Server 2003 system begins with proper planning. This chapter provides a step-by-step walkthrough of the installation process, including hardware requirements, partition, networking, and post-installation configuring. Whether you're installing for a domain controller, file server, or web host, the process starts the same way. 2.1 Planning the installation. Before installation, consider the following: purpose of the server, file server, domain controller, web host. Edition selection, choose based on the required features, standard, enterprise, etc. Hardware compatibility, confirm that all components meet or exceed system requirements. Network integration, determine if the server will be standalone or part of an Active Directory domain scheme. Partitioning scheme, plan logical drives for OS, data, and backups. Checklist, hardware meet minimum requirements. Installed media, CD, DVD, or ISO is available. Product key is ready. Backup of existing data if upgrading or reusing hardware. 2.2 Minimum and recommended requirements. Resource minimum requirement recommended. Processor 133 MHz x86, 550 MHz or faster. RAM 128 MB, 512 MB or more. Disk space 1.5 GB for OS, 4 GB with data apps. Display VGA, SVGA or better. Peripherals, keyboard, mouse, CD-ROM drive, network adapter. Note, these are official specs, but in practice, allocate more resources for production systems. 2.3 Starting the installation, boot from CD or ISO, insert Windows Server 2003 CD, configure BIOS to boot from CD-ROM, press any key to boot when prompted. 2 Setup begins, set uploads files into memory, press enter to start a new installation, accept the license agreements, press F8. 2.4 Partitioning the hard drive. Choose an existing partition or create a new one. Select file system. NTFS is highly recommended. Offers security, compression quotas, and better stability. Set up formats the drive and copies installation files. 2.5 Configuring regional and language settings. Set your location, keyboard layout, and system locale. These affect date, time formats, and input language. 2.6 Naming the server and setting the administrator password. Enter a computer name, must be unique on the network. Set a strong administrator password. Minimum 8 characters, include uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and symbols. 2.7 Networking configuration. Choose typical settings, DHCP, common services, or custom settings for static IPs. Configure IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, preferred DNS, often the same server if running Active Directory. 2.8 Select workgroup or domain for standalone servers or simple networks. Choose workgroup for enterprise network, select domain. You can join later if not available during setup. 2.9 Finalizing installation. Setup will reboot automatically on first login. Install any missing drivers via device manager. Run Windows Update. Set up roles, file server, DNS, DHCP, etc. 2.10 Post installation tasks. Once the OS is installed, perform these steps before deploying. Rename administrator account, optional security measure. Disable guest account. Install antivirus software. Apply security updates and patches. Set static IP address if not already done. Enable remote desktop for remote management. Install roles and features via Manager Server Wizard. 2.11 Installation automation optional for enterprise deployments. Use unattended installation scripts, unattended.txt. Use remote installation services, RIS, to automate network-based installs. 2.12 Licensing considerations. Windows Server 2003 uses client access licenses, CALs. You need one CAL for each user or device accessing the server based on the licensing mode you choose, per device or per user. Summary. Installing Windows Server 2003 is straightforward but requires careful planning to ensure stability and security. After installation, securing the server and configuring its role within the network are critical next steps. Once complete, the system is ready for domain configuration, service deployment, or application hosting. So I'm going to leave it here today for this live stream. I hope you enjoyed listening, and thanks for spending time with me. And I hope you have a good week. Thank you.